I'm going to go ahead and record this. All right, so yeah. Okay, so just some terms to think about when you talk about active shooter. It's just workplace violence, that it's not only physical, but it could be even verbal. Somebody's aggressive or threatening to someone else. Common issues that go along with that is domestic violence or a disgruntled employee. Think about in the news that we've had postal workers that have been disgruntled, or employees that have been laid off, let go and, come back and retaliate, on their employer, or just robbery. We think about, with all of the substance abuse issues out in, communities, and we hear about robberies. And so, I mean, there's always that potential out there. So then with active shooter, when we look at the circumstances of why are they doing this, why, have they chosen to open fire on people that they know or maybe, don't know, is they really don't know. I mean, as far as what the sheriff, reported, it could be that there's mental illness. They feel like a victim, so that, again, they're retaliating. But, because they really don't know what the circumstances is, negotiating with them is not an option. So, it's probably not going to be beneficial to try to talk them out of, shooting. So we will also look at active shooting history. You can look, in the 1980s, this is not anything that we heard of, but now we're in the triple digits of shootings, in our communities. So to protect ourselves, develop a plan. So that's one of the things that Pam did, is create a policy. And then also what I'm going to share with you today is a plan of what do I do? Do I run or do I hide? So the first person to encounter the shooter is one to alert others. So, if you're hearing shots, you're hearing aggressive, yelling, then you would want to alert everyone else. And I know from talking with Pam that there is panic buttons in each of the offices that, we can alert the police, as well as, again, if you're hearing things and it's alarming, to alert the other staff. What are you seeing and where? Can you run or do you hide? And that really just depends on where you're at. I think about this office is, if you're in the back office and you've got somebody aggressive or you hear shots up front, you may not want to expose yourself out in the hallway. The best thing that you might be able to do is just hide, especially if you're on the inside. You don't even have a window to maybe try to get out of. Or if you're upstairs, we talked about that yesterday for the finance team. They're upstairs. If they hear commotion downstairs, do they risk going downstairs, or do they just lock themselves up in one of the, upstairs, like furnace room or the chart room kind of thing?
Hey, Callie, they said they can't get to go to the meeting anymore. I don't know who it is, but somebody said that they're watching it and they can't tell if it's started or not.
They would. I guess they need to call Jeremy. I can't troubleshoot. That, because it looks like it's, I'm going to say it's recording. I'm on, I'm sharing. Are they not hearing? Okay. Yeah, I would just say call Jeremy. That way you can see what they're seeing. So with the active shooter, the sheriff recommends hiding. If you're going to hide, the pros are, obviously, I'm concealed. They're not going to be able, that shooter's not going to be able to see the person, and also isolates the shooter. So obviously, as a worker, if I'm hiding, the person walking around with a gun is going to be more exposed to law enforcement once they get there. But then the cons are, you're trapped. So if that shooter does come through and breaks down that locked door, then you're exposed. And it obviously doesn't work. If a shooter came up here, we don't have a lot of places to go. Under the desk, tip the desk over, but big open areas. Think about if you're in a cafeteria, a gym, something like that, a mall where you're completely open. So with running, obviously you're getting away from the shooter, but then you want to make, things to consider is, are you with someone? Do you have anything out in the personal? Do you have small children with you, or an elderly person? Or if you maybe in a nursing home, is that other person going to slow you down? Or I even think that maybe I'm going to slow somebody else down if I don't maybe run as fast, or if I need to get away. The other thing too is you might expose yourself. If you're not exactly sure where the shooter is, then you risk, again, being exposed when you're running. And again, how far do you have to go to get away, and where's like that safe area? So asking questions is, can you stay safe? Wherever you're at, can you get to a good hiding place? Or is it going to be better to run away, and that you feel like, yes, I can hear the commotion there, but I feel like I can get out this way and be fairly safe. So if you choose to hide, they suggest getting behind a locked door, barricading it if there's windows, putting, curtains down, blinds down, again, trying to conceal yourself and to be quiet, to, turn the ringer off on your cell phone, anything that could make noise, so that way, a shooter does go by, the locked door, he may not realize why is it locked, he's not maybe going to spend the time knocking that down if he's just looking for people that he can see. And also then getting away from the door. So if you are behind a locked door, trying to get away from it. So, and again, concealing yourself behind a locked door. So if you are found, so let's say he does get behind that locked door, they suggest that you improvise weapons. And this is a protect yourself, that you are going to be aggressive and to take this shooter down, whether you're by yourself or maybe a group of people that, whether it's scissors, book, coffee pot, whatever you can, we've got, hide back there, and we've got, needles in our bags, or not needles, but yeah, use, think about when we do blood draws. You think it's anything that you can use to keep, And then they suggest attacking as a group and to not back down until that shooter's down and that you can escape. And then when the police arrive, they talk about being calm, follow their instructions, and put your hands up. It's not me. Is really what you want to do. That's what they suggest. And from what Pam going through the training, they said we will shoot you. Like if you're coming at them, they don't know if you're the shooter. You just want to be like, it's not me. Hands in the air, fingers open, and then if they tell you go, they're going to point you in the direction of safety. They're going to point you in the direction that they came, which obviously was not where the shooter is. And so you just want to do that. And then also know that when they come in, that they're not going to help give the victim, that you be on the ground, that you want to just kind of stay out of their way and let them do their job. You don't want to go up and, try to touch them. They're going to be on high alert. And so, again, just trying to stay calm and getting out to safety. So prevention is also another thing too. If we actually, again, have someone maybe front desk that's aggressive, or you're somewhere and you're hearing, yelling, and then someone pulls out a gun, that, respond with your gut instinct that, it's not a safe situation, and to act accordingly. You need to hide, you need to alert other people, and to get away from that danger. So, oh, nope, you're good. So now we're just going to watch a video, kind of puts all of this together.
It may feel like just another day at the office, but occasionally, life feels more like an action movie than reality. The authorities are working hard to protect you and to protect our public spaces. sometimes bad people do bad things. Their motivations are different. The warning signs may vary, but the devastating effects are the same. And unfortunately, you need to be prepared for the worst. If you were ever to find yourself in the middle of an active shooter event, your survival may depend on whether or not you have a plan. The plan doesn't have to be complicated. There are 3 things you could do that make a difference. Run, hide, fight. First and foremost, if you can get out, do. Always try and escape or evacuate, even when others insist on staying. Encourage others to leave with you, but don't let them slow you down with indecision. Remember what's important, you, not your stuff. Leave your belongings behind and try to find a way to get out safely. Trying to get yourself out of harm's way needs to be your #1 priority. Once you are out of the line of fire, try to prevent others from walking into the danger zone and call 911. If you can't get out safely, you need to find a place to hide. Act quickly and quietly. Try to secure your hiding place the best you can. Turn out lights, and if possible, remember to lock doors. Silence your ringer and vibration mode on your cell phone. And if you can't find a safe room or closet, try to conceal yourself behind large objects that may protect you. Do your best to remain quiet and calm. As a last resort, if your life is at risk, whether you are alone or working together as a group, fight. Act with aggression. Improvise weapons. Disarm him. And commit to taking the shooter down, no matter what. Try to be aware of your environment. Always have an exit plan. Know that in an incident like this, victims are generally chosen randomly. The event is unpredictable and may evolve quickly. The first responders on the scene are not there to evacuate or tend to the injured. They are well trained and are there to stop the shooter. Your actions can make a difference for your safety and survival. Be aware and be prepared. And if you find yourself facing an active shooter, there are 3 key things you need to remember to survive. Run, hide, fight.
Okay. All right. What's going on? Got it. Love technology. Pam's going to share the policy. That video will be embedded on the portal, and this training will become part of all orientation moving forward and all mandatory education that we're always do in the fall. So this policy plus our emergency operation plan, each office will have its own plan like it does now. You know, we went through orientation and you always want to know where your fire extinguishers are, and now this will be a part of that. This policy is like the big one that kind of goes along with the video. This, like she had said, came from the Sheriff Department. They came to a safety council meeting and they came in full guard. And they didn't shoot off their guns because they didn't want to scare the 500 residents in the scene, but it was pretty intimidating when they came in the full gear that they wear. One of the questions at that day was, well, what if I have my, my weapon does not matter. They'll shoot you anyway because they consider you a threat. So it doesn't matter if your weapon come in. They told us they would shoot. So just as an FYI on that piece, because everybody's like, well, the fight part, I can fight, but they really don't want you to. So as you look at this, as you can see, we pretty much followed the evacuate, hide, and fight, the same kind of process as the video. One thing I will say, when you're in your buildings or wherever you go, you always need to be aware of your exits. You always need to be aware. Like here, perfect place to go hide would be behind the big freezer near the bar, or just keep on running down that. So you want to get to a blind spot where they can't see you, or you don't really want to go across to the subway, which is your fireplace when there's a fire or another kind of that natural kind of emergency. At the dark office, we have a cement dumpster, huge thing. Would be a really good place made out of cinder block because we're all glass. You can see entirely around that building. So there's really, even going across the street wouldn't be, for us, it would be to go behind there. And then at Portland, again, they're out there on the edge of the town, so pretty much wide open, but there are metal dumpsters to the north or to the west, southwest of there. So there are places to go at each of the offices. The care center is actually under the hospital's policies for a shooter, so we follow their policies, whether it's they call it code violet or code red, so they follow that policy. So this is, kind of one of those things, I'm very sorry because I can't believe we didn't have an active shooter policy, and it's been in the works for a long time. But when the Dark County Sheriff came to do the presentation, we were like, and then, recent events, we said it's time. So kind of a comfortable thing, but on the other hand, it's the reality of our lives. So like Kelly said, whether you're out and it's your day off, or whether you're in the nursing home or in the hospital, any of this can apply to any of those situations. So I just, want to bring everybody together today, yesterday, and thanks for coming. And then be looking for this to be on the portal, and then we'll be updating the emergency operation plan. Is there any questions? Okay, thank you. Thanks, guys.